Hi guys, it's Katie. Tonight is Sunday night. It's a little bit quiet around here, so I'm going to take advantage of that and try to get started on a little bit of food prep for the week. I haven't done my big grocery shopping for the week yet. That's going to be tomorrow, and I don't actually have a full meal plan, but there are a few things that I can get done tonight, and while the children are asleep, I'm going to go ahead and do that. So this afternoon we did go and pick up just a few things, and I ended up buying a big bag of rice, and this is a 40-pound bag of rice, and I've gotten this rice before, but I usually get the smaller bag. I think it's 15 or 20 pounds, and that fits into these half-gallon mason jars really well. And I just fill them up, and I put a lid on them, and I put them in the floor of my pantry, and it's kind of a space that's not good for anything else anyway, so I can keep my rice safely packed up in glass jars in there. This was much more rice than I usually get, so after I filled up those jars I still had quite a bit of rice left, and I ended up using one of my fermenting jars, so a big 5-liter bale top jar. I used that, and I still had a little bit of rice left, so I just stuck it in a couple containers. But I got that all packed up, so it's safe and secure now. And so this afternoon I also got a little bit of produce, so I'm going to start prepping that. I got some kale, and I'm actually going to just get this ready, and we'll have this I think tomorrow night. Like I said, I haven't made my meal plan yet, but it's in the works, and I have at least tomorrow night's dinner planned. So this really beautiful kale I got, I'm just going to take the stems off and wash it and tear it into bite-sized pieces. And here's a tip: if you get these really heavy-duty rubber bands on produce like kale, sometimes they're on celery or asparagus, save them. They are the best rubber bands for holding your cloth covers on your kombucha. So I just run my hand down these really thick stems to remove the leaves, and then I'll tear this kale up into bite-sized pieces, and I'm gonna saute this and kind of stew it down. Some people will cook hardy greens like kale and collards very, very well. I don't cook them that well. They're still pretty bright green the way that I like them. Some people cook them until they're very, very tender, but for me, I just put them in a saute pan. I heat up some oil, and I'll saute a little bit of garlic, and then I'll put the greens that have already been cleaned and torn into bite-sized pieces, and I cover it up and I let them wilt a little bit, and that does a big amount of knocking down the volume, so you can get quite a bit of greens in your pan. And then I just let them saute. Just some salt and pepper, garlic. You can slice up some onion and saute in there with the greens if you want. And then sometimes I'll either add a little splash of apple cider vinegar, sometimes I will add a splash of lemon juice, just some kind of acid to brighten them up a little bit, because sometimes dark leafy greens can have sort of an earthy or a bitter flavor, so that just brightens them up. And then you can also add hot pepper flakes or hot sauce. And if you add hot sauce, that will kind of, most hot sauces have vinegar, so that will kind of give you the sour and a little bit of spice too. So, and you can always put hot sauce, when you're serving or eating too. So, let me get these cleaned up. I'm gonna get them all in the sink here, and then I'll fill it up with water and let them soak a little bit to get any extra dirt to fall out. Alright, so I actually rinsed them several times because there was quite a bit of sand, and you just check the bottom of your sink. If there's sand, fill it up and rinse them again. So I rinsed them 3 times, and now there's no sand in the bottom. So I just drained it, and I'm gonna let shake off most of the water here. I'm not gonna run this through my salad spinner, and I'm not gonna put a cloth in the bottom of the container, which is different than I usually do with my greens, but I'm gonna cook these tomorrow, so it's not like they're gonna sit for very long. And the excess water that's kind of stuck to them is what's going to help wilt them down when I go to cook them. So I'm just going to pack them in this container, and I'm going to pack them pretty tight because it's going to get, cooked down anyway. So just hopefully I can get them all in this container. It'll be spring-loaded when I open it tomorrow. Alright, go ahead and put this in the fridge. I have some radishes just for salads and things, so I'll go ahead and clean those up. I just take the tops off, just pull the radish off the tops. I'll just rinse these. Pop these into a container with a cloth. And I don't trim them or anything because they'll just, the ends, like the cut ends will dry out anyway, so I just trim them right before I use them. Just take a sliver off the top to get that, take a sliver off the bottom to get this kind of stringy, sometimes it's kind of tough root, and then you can slice it up, dice it up, whatever you want to do with it. Even if you don't wash them, taking the greens off is what's most important about having them last more than just a few days. Right, so this will go in the fridge. Okay. I also got something that I haven't cooked with that much. I have maybe 2 or 3 times, but it's lemongrass. And I did get this for a recipe that I want to try. It's a coconut milk lemongrass chicken soup. So if you've ever had soup at a Thai restaurant, that kind of soup, it's called tom ya ka, tom ya ga, something like that. So you can correct me if I do this wrong, but I think you just cut the end off and you peel off the outer woody layers till you get the tender center, and then that's what you chop up to use. So I'll go ahead and get that just so that it fits in my fridge better. I probably won't like mince it up until right before because I feel like it's all aroma, like that's the big thing about lemongrass, so I'll do it right before so the aroma is really fresh. But I'll at least get it to that point. Let's see. Yeah, so the part that's, let's see if you can see it. That light yellow, just very center there. That's the part that you want, so it's, I guess it's not really worth it to dig for it in this end, but in this end where it's this big part, that's what you want, I guess. Alright, so that's what I got. Hopefully I didn't waste too much. Alright, I also have some pieces of beef. It's like trimmed off of a chuck roast. We had like pot roast, but the roast was too big for ours, you know, for our family to have for pot roast. So I trimmed it down a little bit, and now I want to use this beef for I think probably chili. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to cut it into small pieces. I'm also going to trim away some of this obvious connective tissue. And I'm going to get the meat just ready. I'm not going to make the whole chili right now, but it'll make it a lot easier. So I'm going to brown and season the meat, and then when I go to make it, I'll just have to dump it in, dump some beans, which I can have pre-cooked, and some onions and peppers, and it will be much quicker that way. I'm just cutting into actually pretty small pieces, but there's not that much meat here, so I kind of need to stretch it to feed my family. But I'm going to fill this out with lots of beans and some veggies, so it'll be a full meal. Alright, so I'll go ahead and cook this. I'm going to use my pressure cooker because it will turn that chuck roast into just melt in your mouth. So I'm going to brown it. Let me get this started to warm up. I'm going to put a little fat in there. I'll put the meat in, and then I'll put some spices. Alright, put a little fat in there to brown the meat. Alright, so the meat is brown. I'm going to put enough water to just barely cover the meat. And let that water deglaze the bottom of the pan. And then I'm going to pressure cook this meat so that it's delicious and tender. Spread it out so it's in an even layer. Seal it up, bring it to pressure, and these are really small pieces, so I probably won't pressure cook it very long, especially since this is going to be cooked more. So probably bring it to pressure on high, and then I'll just turn the stove off, and that will be the time that it cooks. Probably about 10 minutes, not even. And while that works, I did find a bell pepper and some onions. I was not sure that I had that, so I will go ahead and chop these up, throw them in. I'll actually add a can of tomatoes, and then at that point all I'll have to add is beans, I guess. Unless I come up with something when I go grocery shopping tomorrow, maybe a jalapeno or something. Go ahead and transfer this over here. It's really hot. I don't want to put it in the plastic container just yet, but I do want to use this pan again and saute my vegetables. So I'll go ahead and put the onions and peppers in. And then I'll wait for the, I chopped up some garlic too, so I'll wait for the onions and peppers to brown up a little bit, or saute I should say. Salt and pepper here. I'm not going to add any more spices because all the spices I put in the meat are in this liquid, so that's going to go in with everything, so should have plenty of seasonings. I can always adjust that at the end. This will be pretty much complete. I'll just need to add beans, so I'll get those soaking so they can hopefully sprout before we have this. I'm also going to soak my almonds for my almond milk while I'm here soaking things. So a cup of almonds. Alright, so I put the tomato paste and the diced tomatoes in. I forgot my garlic, but that's alright. Throw that in now. Alright, I'll put that in here with the meat and let it cool. Alright, I think that's going to do it for tonight. This is still quite hot, so I'm just going to stick this in the refrigerator and I'll pack it up in a plastic container tomorrow. And then tomorrow after I go grocery shopping, we'll finish up the food prep for the week. Good morning. I actually went ahead and wrote up my meal plan, and I think the other thing I need to make that I'm going to make now is pizza dough. I'm going to make next Sunday, so it's nearly a week from now, I'm going to make some either macaroni salad or potato salad, so I'll have to make mayo, but I'll just make that right before I need it, because I'm not going to make it a week ahead. And I have my things here soaking. Woo! So I'm going to drain and rinse my beans and let them sprout, and I'm going to drain and rinse my almonds and make almond milk. So I'll do the beans first since that will be quick and easy. I've showed how to make almond milk many times on food prep videos. I'm going to make it just a little bit different today. I've been doing it slightly different, it's just adding a little bit of flax. I've been trying to find a bunch of ways to add flax. One, because it's good for you, it has omega-3s and protein and fiber, and also because I found a big bag of flax seeds that I bought that I had totally forgot that I bought, and it's like a pound, or maybe it's like 18 ounces, and they expire in March of 2017, so I want to use them up before they go bad. You know, seeds and nuts are kind of expensive. Flax seeds weren't the cheapest, so I just add about 2 tablespoons to my almonds when I make my almond milk. So let me get my Vitamix out and we'll make almond milk. Okay, so that's a quart of water, a cup of almonds that have been soaked. I'll throw a couple dates in for sweetness. Alright, so I'll put 3 dates in. You want one? I measured 2 tablespoons the first time I did it to see like what I could put in without tasting it, and I hardly tasted it. It does change the texture slightly. If you've ever worked with flax seeds, they absorb water and make sort of a, I don't know, like a coating on the seeds, and it can be used as a thickener. Actually, ground up flax seeds can be used as an egg replacement because it has the same sort of binding power. So it does make it a tiny bit thicker, but it's not that bad. It's not like a bad thickness. I don't know how to explain it. And you don't have to soak the flax seeds. So soak the almonds. Don't worry about soaking the flax seeds, and I don't worry about soaking the dates. And blend this up. Blend it for at least a full minute. Alright, so now I'll just strain the milk through this dish towel. Alright, to get the last of the almond milk out, you just gather up the corners of your towel and squeeze every last bit out. Alright, so I'm going to go ahead and mix up the pizza dough. And I'm just going to use a recipe that I already make pizza dough with. I'm just going to adjust it for sourdough, so hopefully it turns out okay. I've done this before, but I didn't write down exactly what I did, so hopefully I do this correctly. So the recipe calls for 3.5 to 4 cups of flour, and then it calls for 1.5 cups of water. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to put some sourdough starter and then water it down and use that as the water component. This is the starter that I just fed, and I will, since it's 1.5 cups, I'll do 3/4 cup of starter and 3/4 cup of water. So, stir that. So that's 1 cup of liquid and then 1/2 cup. So that's 1.5 cups total. About 1 tablespoon of olive oil. I'm just going to eyeball it. And 1 teaspoon of salt. Go ahead and stir this, see how it comes together.
Hello, mother dear, I hope you are well and happy today. I do love you and think of you each single day. I dream of seeing you happy. In summertime I thought that I would be able to see.
Alright, so I'm gonna go ahead and put this in this container, and it's gonna go in the refrigerator, and I will use it on Friday, which is 4 days from today. So the recipe, I was looking at another recipe online, it said you can keep pizza dough in the fridge for up to 2 weeks. I don't know that I would do that, but we'll try 4 days and make sure it works. But it should be fine. There's how the pizza crust turned out. I let mine go a little bit too much, so it's a little bit dark, but it rose up beautifully. It was in the fridge for 4 days, and it was easy to work, and looks really good. Here's my husband's. His has a little bit more time to go.